How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all doing well. Uh, Today is Wednesday, late Wednesday night. It is it's late. It's not too late, but not at least for me anyway. But yeah, it's late. But today I wanted to get through a video recapping what I thought was a very boring, quite frankly, Democratic National Convention that took place about a couple weeks ago now. It was a virtual event. It took place basically all over the country, following social distancing practices, unlike the fucking Republican National Convention, where they did it on government property and violated the Hatch Act in the process. But nonetheless, the DNC did it. They did it right, at least in that respect. They did it via at home and communication on, you know, on their uh, on their platform basically. So, um, uh, basically online by talking to each other in different studios and basically from people's homes on their computer. So that's the gist of it. And in that respect, they did a good job, following COVID-19 guideline convention. Um, but in terms of execution and actually having us care about what they say, the DNC did a horrible job this convention. And I thought, in terms of conventions, the Democratic National Convention was a lot worse from what I could tell. And I'm just an average guy. I'm not a reporter or nothing, but um, I was so bored with the Democratic National Convention upon watching it for 4 days, like a good little soldier watching it for 4 days. But for this video, I'm going to go through all 4 days and kind of give my recap on it. Just a raw recap of what my notes were as I go scroll through each video. Um, while as I drag my mouse in the video and see what's on there basically, um, and what my reactions were to each person that I see in the video for each of the 4 videos, and give my reaction to their speech or whatever they did for this convention. So here we go. Better get started. It's 4 videos, and it's like a total of what 13 hours long. So it shouldn't. But I'm zooming through it, so hopefully it shouldn't be too long. So let's see here. Okay, it's on C-SPAN. All right, we're on day 1. I'm on the C-SPAN channel, and they're showing Steve Scully interview a political reporter from Axios named Alexei McCammond. Um, Steve Scully, as of September 2nd, which is today, this took place August 17th. Steve Scully from C-SPAN was announced for to be a moderator for one of the 3 presidential debates uh, coming in the next couple months. And I think that's an awesome get for these debates. Steve Scully will do a bang up job as a moderator because he's fucking good. I've been watching C-SPAN for a while, and he's fair. The other 2 with Chris Wallace and the woman from MSNBC, I'm not too sure about. So, but I know Steve Scully is the one that's going to do really good. Okay, so they're still talking, so I'm going to fast forward here. And still talking. Okay, there's them. The shows the DNC starting. It has Eva Longoria coming in. God, she is a beautiful woman. That's like the only thing. That's there's anything I remember from day 1 of the Democratic National Convention. It's that Eva Longoria is a beautiful goddamn woman. So, um, so she moderated the whole, or she hosted the whole day 1 of this convention. And that's a common thing that the DNC did for all of the days. They had a celebrity moderate them. So I don't I don't know if for day no for they had 2 black actresses for day 2 and 3, with one of them being Kerry Washington. I don't remember the other actress, but I recognized her. Day 4 they had Julia Louis-Dreyfus on there, and that was fucking awesome. She's Seinfeld, man, greatest show of all time. So Eva is still talking here, and we're gonna go to another speech. And they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance now. Very, very political video. Now we're getting to the religious prayer of the video. Okay, back to Eva Longoria. By the way, as you can tell, there's no video for these. If there's going to be no video for this, there's going to be no video that you could see for this video, or for my reaction video for the Republican National Convention as well. So that's just how it's going to be. Also, with both of these videos, I'm going to be talking about more recent news that's been happening after these conventions. So here we go. I believe now they have a man on there who has his own restaurant and who is affected by COVID-19, with his business being in big trouble, and for a more human element. Oh, his name is Scott Richardson from Swarthmore, Pennsylvania. And you know, the Democratic National Convention, they didn't really have any things like this where gosh darn, sorry it's late, but where they had the human element in their convention, and that's their own damn fault, because for some reason they just kept putting politicians in there to do interviews and stuff, or do speeches, and they didn't actually have the working people, and that's where people really who are watching, according to the reporters I listen to religiously now from the Hill, we listen to them more, and as I notice when watching the show, and I can agree with, they have more of an effect with their own speeches, the working people, than the politicians do, because we can relate to the working people and not the politicians in these conventions. Now Eva Longoria is talking to I believe a high school student who's talking about activism or something, or she's doing her own thing. And now Longoria is talking to a farmer whose his business is affected by COVID-19. Classy move by this guy. He did a condolence. He gave his condolence involuntary, without being asked to, towards Donald Trump's brother who passed. I forgot who the name of Donald Trump's brother was. And it's unfortunate because nobody really seems to be talking about him. So this is a difficult time, for Donald Trump. I think people are not giving him enough credit for that. He's going through a really big pressure election that could determine his legacy. If he loses, his goal of his legacy will be shortened. So while he's going through this important election, Donald Trump, he's still grieving the loss of his brother, and I have my own feelings about Donald Trump, and they're not good, but I want to sympathize or even empathize with him a little more, based off that fact that he's grieving from the loss of his brother. Okay, now Longoria is talking to a nurse who discusses her issues from COVID-19 in Texas. I don't know how big Texas is with their issues with COVID-19. They're not the worst, but they're not the best either. That's what I get over there. Let's just say they're not nearly as bad as I expected them to be. I thought they wouldn't follow the rules at all, and in some cases they're not, but not in as many as I expected. So that's interesting. Now Joe Biden is having a video of him doing a speech, and now Next up was Representative Gwen Moore, who's a Democrat from Wisconsin. She said something. I honestly, her speech had no effect on me. I wasn't paying attention to this at all. I just remember her saying "Sister Kamala Harris," and that was pretty much it. That was it. But yeah, no effect. And again, the working class people that they bring on have a way bigger effect on me than do a random politician that I kind of not really know do a speech, and frankly, who I don't care about. I don't want to listen to them subconsciously. So now there's another video. I don't know what this seems like a video about the protests, or no, about the Heroes of America hospitals. How important it is to wear a mask. Oh, okay. I don't know. Oh yeah. So this is one of those hype videos that's like, we're stronger together from this coronavirus. This is what I hated. The rising. Rise up. What I just sang there, it was a song that the Democratic National Convention kept putting on throughout their damn convention, to the point where I just wanted to bang my head against the table because they kept doing it and it was so annoying. It's just their message that they seem to be wanting to submit to the public in this convention about rising up as Americans through adversities like coronavirus and social unrest. Look, that's awesome, but God, man, every time, rise up. And every time they do that, they have this sign. It's like a black screen with two white lines and with words on those lines. It says, "We the people need a leader who unites us, not divides us." So that, I guess, is their message throughout the convention. The words might change though, so we'll see. I didn't pay attention to that message that they kept putting on the Democratic National Convention. That's how effective it was to me. That I don't even remember what it said after they posted it 40 times. Good job. Let's see. Now they're talking to somebody else. I don't remember. Okay, back to Eva Longoria. I've had this. I've been watching the Giants game with my buddy the last couple of days at his house. And they have somebody named Evan Longoria. I'm like, so close, man. But I'd have the right one here, Eva Longoria. Type of dream girl, I swear. Okay, now back here to the mayor of Washington D.C., who is promoting for Joe Biden. From what I understand, she has had a lot of issues with Trump and his ceremonies that he announces and stuff, and all that. So it's been a long spewing rivalry ever since he's been there. And so I think, she definitely, I can definitely see why she wants to endorse Joe, as she's been complaining about Trump a lot in the city. And behind her is the Black Lives Matter tag on the street, the giant painting, I should say, on one of the streets in Washington. Man. And I think that's still there, if I remember correctly. There might even be a street, I don't know, in Washington, D.C. I might need to check that, but I'm not sure. So after that, they have relatives relatives of George Floyd on there. Man, it's I feel sorry for them. I really do, and it's effective when they're on there too. I don't. I think it's underrated that nobody talks about these appearances of the grieving family members that rightfully should come in and talk about what their experiences are and talk for their sibling who passed um, in their events. And both conventions had this. Obviously, we have this here with George Floyd's brothers and siblings, and we have for the Republican convention, we'll have the widow, I should say, of police officer David Dorn, who died, I believe, in an attempted robbery during the protests of Breonna Taylor. Okay. Let's see. And yet they're remembering George Floyd. After this, a musical performance. Don't care. Okay, Eva Longoria again. Hi, Eva. Next up is Joe Biden. And I don't know what he's talking about. I don't remember this. Nope, don't remember any of this. Don't remember that. Okay, next up is the mayor of Chicago, who is also promoting for Joe Biden and opposes Donald Trump greatly. There's a lot of murders I think are taking place in Chicago and New York, to my understanding right now, with police officers quitting over there. Understandably, with how crazy those cities are to deal with. And along with these protests where police officers are maybe as unpopular as they've ever been. So, it's unfortunate. So, I don't know. The mayor from Chicago, I need to look more into her. I'm not sure how I feel about her yet. All right, next up we have Joe Biden talking to a number of different figures in regards to the social, racial unrest in the country. Joe's talking to, I think, the president of the NAACP. I believe he stated we're making progress here with what's going on in America right now. Next guy, I don't remember who he is. I'm not going to get into it. The third one is the mother of Eric Gardner, the guy who died from the police choke. Who died from being detained by the police on the ground, and he choked just because he had cigarettes or something like that. Like, it was really unnecessary what happened to him, to my understanding. What I saw on video too, it was really just senseless. So with this whole thing, with Biden talking to all these people, Biden's talking to them via video. So there's like 5 TVs in front of him, and he's talking to each person via their own TV. So again, like in the Democratic National Convention, as I said earlier with them, they did a great job doing a virtual social distancing like thing with it. They got it done. Trump, bitched and complained a lot about the convention being the convention needing to be around people. No, it doesn't, and the Democratic National Convention proved this. Donald Trump really handled this whole convention thing. In terms of message, he handled it okay. He handled it better than Biden and the DNC did, but in terms of handling it ethically, he did a horrible job. A horrible job. When you combine the lack of social distancing, nobody wore a mask during any of the speeches, and any of the big speeches in the convention, and they violated the Hatch Act throughout that entire RNC convention. I was very mad at the lack of ethics that the RNC had throughout their convention. That was a bunch of crap. So next up, we're going to Jim Clyburn, a Democrat from South Carolina, and he's the House Majority Whip. Huh. I don't even know what the Majority Whip does. I forgot. It's been a while. Clyburn reminds me a lot of Herman Cain, who sadly passed away a couple days ago because of coronavirus. Um, so, yeah, it's sad. Before he died, he was at a Trump rally, and people are wondering if he got hit during the rally, but nobody knows that, just to clarify, from to my understanding. So it's really sad he died. He came off as a likable guy when he ran for president 8 years ago. Okay, I don't remember at all what Clyburn said, so I'll go back here. Okay, something about a Marine. I don't remember what he said at all. So again, Joe Biden. Oh, Joe's a personable guy. I don't remember. I don't remember at all he said. So we go to back to Eva Longoria. Hello, Eva. And okay, back. Okay, now we're to Andrew Cuomo. I wanted to say a lot about this speech for a long time. Talks a lot about COVID-19 and how they're making progress, which is great. But I think he blames Trump a lot, if I remember correctly, in this speech. This speech got me pumped up when I heard it the first time. I was not happy. Andrew Cuomo is a guy who handled the pandemic, I think, worse than Trump did overall. Yeah, he made a lot of announcements of what he was going to do and held all these briefings, and he was mad about things not getting done, so he got it done. But overall, he was moving through the chaos because he didn't prepare for the pandemic, to my understanding. And then he brought people who were older people who were sick, who had the virus, back into a number of nursing homes, and a lot of people in the nursing homes got sick and died because of him. He did some, he's just done a lot of weird things with this pandemic. And to top it all off, he tweeted a drawing of like how New York is like all better now and stuff. And this was like a month ago. Like, we're still in the pandemic clearly at this time. And it came off really as him patting himself on the back, like he did the job and stuff. And he did a bad job. New York's leading the case in coronavirus cases, and he's crediting himself on Twitter. So, like, I don't know. This guy's unreal. And when he was called out for putting that tweet up, he said, "No, I'm not taking any responsibility for what's happened in New York. I don't feel like I'm being hypocritical at all. He's a piece of work. That Andrew Cuomo. I may be a Democrat, by instinct more than a Republican, but I'm less of a Democrat than I've ever been before now. And I'm not saying I'm a Republican, but I'm just saying I used to all be about the Democrat, but it's people like Andrew Cuomo who kind of drove me out of the idea of just committing myself to them, over time. This guy's he's an interesting dude, to say the least. I think he's definitely handled the virus though more than Trump, worse than Trump though. I will say that, and that's saying something, really. Okay, I don't really want to hear speech anymore. It doesn't mean anything. Let's go to. Okay, we went to a woman whose parents got really sick from the virus. That's all I remember. Okay, back to Eva Longoria. She talks about something else now. Oh, she interviews a number of other. Okay, these are medical professionals she interviews now. 4 different ones. In regards to the pandemic. Or no, it's not Eva. It's that soccer player Megan Rapinoe, who interviews him. You know, at least they got Megan to do something like interesting, or that she can do without being an insulting presence to us. Like, we don't want her to give facts or something. You know, why would I believe her? You know, she's a soccer player. But anyway, but this, you know, at least she gets to participate, and that's cool. She's a good fit for the DNC, so they gave her a correct role to do. Since she, you know, she's just not a political expert. She's a soccer player. All right, going through this interview here. Okay, we the people. Back to that sign again. Rise up. We the people demand a fair election. So maybe they're going to talk about that. Yep, they're talking about the mail-in stuff. You know, how Trump was criticizing mail-in voting and all that, and how it's rigging the election, and language like that. This was only a few weeks ago, so it makes sense that the DNC would put arguments like this in, and how concerned they are of it, and how they criticize Trump for compromising that mail-in system, even though it doesn't seem like he is, according to fellow Republicans even, who are assuring people that it's safe, that mailing in your vote is safe. So I'll go through this. I don't think it's a big deal, the mail-in thing. I'm not really taking it seriously. I could be wrong. You know, I'm not an expert or anything, but that's just my opinion. Okay, another musical performance. It's good because I get to skip some more time. George C. Okay, I don't know who these people are. Caesar A. I don't know who these people are. Okay, I'm going to skip them. Okay, now we're to Governor Gretchen Whitmer, Democrat from Michigan. She's the governor. Oh yeah, she's governor from Michigan. I believe recently she said that people from Michigan are further restricted into quarantine in their state or something like that. She made more restrictions there. So I don't know much about her, but I would like to look more into her because I just don't trust her. She's another politician that I don't frankly trust. But to be fair, I know nothing about her. And I don't really know what she said. I just knew that she endorsed Joe Biden. Very effective speech. Okay, next. Let's go to, okay, they're talking about, I think they're talking about the recession, or how this pandemic is is leading this country into a recession. Except, oh no, it's leading to the COVID. They're talking about deaths from COVID. Okay. It really is sad how it's kind of taken away so many lives. It's hard to say how effective, how big this COVID thing is. I mean, in terms of how it's affected all the deaths. You know, how many people had pre-existing conditions? I'm kind of curious about that. Like, how effective was this COVID-19? I want to know, especially now that we have 6 million cases, or we've had 6 million cases now confirmed in this country. Alexa, how many people live in the United States?
According to the CIA World Factbook, as of 2017, the population of the United States was 327 million people.
Alexa, what's 6 million divided by 327 million?
6 million divided by 327 million is 0.0183.
0.0183. So 0.2%. No, that doesn't sound right. Yeah, yeah, that does seem right. No, it doesn't. No, yeah, no, it's nearly 2%. Nearly 2%. 1.8% of the country has had this virus. That's a big jump from my first video about COVID, which was like 0.5%. That's a jump. That's a jump. That's more than 4 times if I got that right. So that's kind of scary. Kind of scary. And it's something we have to worry about. But people are still not taking it seriously. So it's a small number, but still, I mean, people are idiots. It could turn into a very big number. It doubled. The case number has doubled in the last couple months. So there you go. Next up, they have a number of former Republicans who had high political positions, including from John Kasich, who's showing up right now. John Kasich had a speech that the people from the Hill they didn't really like. They thought it was cringeworthy. But honestly, I don't really care because it was a very ineffective speech to me. Um, so it doesn't matter to me. All these Republicans coming in and endorsing Joe Biden besides Trump, I don't care. They did the same thing for the RNC. And guess what? How much effect that had on me, both sides? Zero. Zero effect. So, doesn't matter. And honestly, I don't remember John Kasich's speech. So, just again to show how ineffective these political speeches are. So, let's go here now. We, the people, know this election is bigger than politics. Okay? It is. Politics is pretty big. Politics, the federal government, and the importance of all the positions in government, they're very important. So a lot of things are bigger than politics, which is just bickering amongst the representatives. So there you go. Okay, and they're showing the Republicans again. I don't know who this guy is who just came on here. I don't know who he is. I'm going to skip him. Eva Longoria coming on again. And next up here is next up is a woman that Eva Longoria took us to. I don't know who this is either. Again, I mean, kind of the gist of the DNC. A lot of speakers that really don't matter and that weren't effective really uh, in their campaign. Okay, this woman is named Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Democrat from Nevada. I want to remember her speech, but honestly, I don't. I don't remember her speech either. So there you go. Yeah, you gotta. These politicians are boring too. That's another thing about going through these conventions. They were a chore. They were a chore to go through. Does a convention really need to be 2.5 hours long for 4 days in a row? Do you really expect people to listen for that long? It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous, man. Yeah. They really need to cut stuff down. People, I don't care what generation you're in, people will not listen for that long. It's ridiculous. They now have Senator Amy Klobuchar 1 hour and 30 minutes into the first night. Honestly, I don't remember her speech that well either. She said we did a good job during my campaign in the last couple of years, but I'm now here to endorse Joe Biden, basically, because that's the right thing to do and get rid of Trump. So um, that's kind of what she did here. Again, not a very effective speech. Even for Amy Klobuchar, I didn't remember it very much. So there you go. I don't remember. Next up, there's, yep. Okay, I see what they're doing here. They're showing all the Democrats, all the Democratic presidential candidates who dropped out of this race. They're now all coming together to support Joe Biden and endorse him. Interesting to note, this is a good time to bring up, Tulsi Gabbard was not invited into this convention. And here's Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang was not brought in until he mentioned it on Twitter, saying, hey, I gotta admit, I thought I was going to speak, but he was not brought in either. All these presidential candidates are, including Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, a number of other ones I don't remember, Beto O'Rourke. All these guys are, Seth Moulton from Massachusetts. They're all, they all ran for president, and they're all basically endorsing Joe. And Tulsi Gabbard also endorsed Joe. I think Tulsi isn't brought on because she called out Kamala Harris, rightfully so, for being a very questionable California state attorney, from the sound of it. Another one, former presidential candidate Kirsten Hildebrand, if I remember correctly. Joe's very good with people. He's very good at talking to people when he goes through them and talks to them. Another one, Governor Jay Inslee, who also ran. So, all right, I'm just going to pass this now. So back to Eva Longoria, and that brought us to, I remember this guy. I don't remember his name, so clearly he wasn't effective. Okay, they're talking about Joe and his upbringing. So that guy was important. How Joe went on the train from Delaware to D.C. like every day. And he befriended the conductor of the Amtrak. That's pretty cool. This particular story I do remember fondly because it made me want to be like Joe in an admirable way. Joe is really good at talking to regular people. That's kind of, from what I understand, that is his gift. That's the gift he has. Whereas Trump's gift is to be great in front of an audience. Joe is great one-on-one. It sounds like with any kind of person. He just seems like a nice guy, So it's he really has that knack in that way. They're showing pictures of all the people who worked on the subway, and apparently Joe's good friends with the workers from this Amtrak because he's known them for years and years. So yeah, that's pretty dope. I like that. Makes you want to talk to people like that, like every day. To go up to them, talk to them, and say hi, like every day. Anybody you see, you want to walk up to them and have a conversation with them in public. It's just a nice feeling to have, to want to do that. It's unfortunate there's only so much, only a finite amount of time of the day. You have to get stuff done. People don't have enough time to just sit down and chat with one another for a certain amount of time, and do it recurringly. I did that a lot as a cashier, and it was great, honestly. And sometimes it wasn't great. Sometimes it was stressful and awkward, and I didn't even maybe it was just testy with the customer. I don't know. We all go through those. But yeah, this is a great video of portraying Joe as kind of an everyday guy, politician talking to everyday people, even though he's a pretty rich politician. So. Next up was a pretty big speech with Bernie Sanders. He talked about how he was endorsing Joe, even though with Bernie Sanders' own movement, it was very grassroots, unlike Joe. Joe's pretty established. He's with the establishment part of the Democratic Party, which, from what I understand, so rich people basically. And Bernie is not. He didn't fall for that, and he went with the grassroots. So a lot of Democrats, especially young people, were pretty mad when Bernie lost the the primaries. I didn't I didn't realize how consequential it was that he lost until maybe, I don't know, 2 months ago, a month ago even. It's just really scary that he lost. Bernie seems like a great guy. And I hope he's around a little longer in office. 'Cause I don't want him to go. Bernie was making a speech here. Basically, what he said was he was making the case not exactly for Joe, but for why we need to vote for Joe and not Trump. His whole case was basically don't vote for Trump, and here's why. Because as the people in the Hill say, particularly the two people in Rising, Crystal Gar, Sagar and Jetty, they said you can't vote. This is the only argument Bernie could make, because Bernie, like I said, he's more of a grassroots progressive liberal, and Joe Biden is the opposition, and they're kind of rivals in the Democratic Party. Joe Biden is more the neoliberalism, high rich class part of the party, along with Obama and Pelosi. The more traditional Democrats than these new people coming up with AOC in them. So Bernie leading the charge, but with Bernie losing, he has to endorse Joe in order for Trump not to get reelected, which would be the worst thing in their minds. It's unfortunate. I thought this speech was powerful. In one part of the speech, he said that a former king who was an awful king, he played the violin when his city was burning to the ground, and Trump golfs while we're in a pandemic. I personally thought the line was effective. And Bernie was the only one who brought policy and substance into what he was saying here, too. There was a lot of that not around in the DNC, but it was around a little bit in the RNC, and that's a big reason why I thought the RNC won. But this was the only part of the policy that I remember, honestly. Okay, we're going through that speech. We the people, another image. Can't find we the people. We the people need a leader who looks out for us, not themselves. You really think Joe's that guy? I don't know if he is. We'll see about that. Okay. Next up we have Michelle Obama. She was the main speaker of night one. And you know, she was all right. I didn't think she was amazing. The main thing I heard her say was that Trump was a very ineffective leader, which is, she doesn't need to explain that to me, but I don't think she needs to explain that to a lot of people, honestly. But she said he's not going to change. That's the way it is. And like, it's all right. You know, it was kind of effective. But MSNBC, apparently they went crazy for her speech. It was pretty funny, like way too crazy. It's just weird. Yeah, that's what I remember about her speech. It was a long speech, and also Eva Longoria praised her speech big time. It's like, not that great of a speech. It's good, but it's not like amazing. That's all. You don't need to preach like it's amazing. So it was good. She did a good job. Next up was a song. Night one. Good, we're getting through night one. finally, a prayer. And, okay, we're done with night one. Going to night two. Day two, there we go. Another 2 hour, 22 minutes.
I could not believe my before.
There we go. Soda's gone, damn it. Okay, so now we got Tom Barrett, mayor of Milwaukee, starting it off. I don't really know what he's talking about. I don't remember in the past this. Okay. Oh, these are the members of the Democratic National Convention. Okay. And Tom Barrett was there because the convention part was supposed to take place in, I believe, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So there you go. These are the DNC members. They're officially talking here. Okay, past that part. Now they're getting to memorable DNC moments throughout the years. Passing all that, nobody cares. Kathleen Clyde. Let's see. Georgia. Okay, now they're talking about Joe Biden when he was in high school. Same hairdo for like 70 years. Nice Joe. Blah, blah, blah. Nevada State Senator. I don't know what they're talking about here. Number of endorsements from different people in government. U.S. Representative Brendan Boyle. Okay, next up is another actress. I don't remember her name. I've seen her in work, but this is the actress I don't remember. I don't remember her name. Okay. Oh, there we go. Tracy Ellis Ross, an actress and musician. What was she in? I don't remember. Okay, Joe Biden, Kamala. Okay, next up is Sally Yates, former acting attorney general. I don't remember her speech. I'm going to skip her. Very effective. Okay, these are people who are wanting. I think they used to be Republican, but they are now going Democrat. These are just normal people. Or it's just normal people talking. Okay, another We the People poster. Here is Senator Chuck Schumer talking from Brooklyn, where he's at. Senator Chuck Schumer. He's one of the. I think he's the minority house leader, or he's one level below. He's like the right-hand person of a minority leader. There we go. Chuck Schumer, Democrat from the Senate. He did a big endorsement of Joe Biden here, to my understanding. You know, he blamed Trump a lot too, and I do got to say he's been doing a lot of blaming towards Trump on his Facebook page. It's really been getting me mad. I posted a couple things on there. It's like, hey, why don't you not blame anybody for the coronavirus but yourself first, pal? You're the one who went home from the coronavirus deal along with the rest of Congress and Nancy Pelosi. You know, you don't deserve to talk. You deserve to work and be in Washington, not at home. Okay? You have tens of millions of people, including, especially, I should say, New Yorkers. You left them hungry from not signing this second coronavirus deal. and you are having them worry about evictions. A worry which the Trump administration solved within the last couple days. You see, the Trump administration, they signed an official moratorium, some kind of order. I don't know what they did, but they found a way to get around it to where they put in an eviction moratorium for everybody basically until around the end of the year. You know, so they don't have to. People don't have to worry about being kicked out. I think people should research that, but that's definitely the case with it being true. But I don't know the details. The only detail I know is that with people not allowed to be kicked out, a couple things. One, the renters are very worried, and they're worried they don't have to pay. They are not able to pay, which will then affect the banks, which will mean government might have to bail out banks. So this is all according to people in the Hill from their show Rising. I watch that a lot. It's really credible, non-biased, and just solid news, which I really like. And the second thing of all this is that that the people who are fined with this eviction, they will have to pay back all those months that they're protected later down the road. So it's not like they're being forgiven for these months. They will have to pay those months at some point. So that's kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Next up were the Kennedys. They showed talked about how Joe Biden has had a good track record in office, apparently. There you go. Okay, Joe Biden with Jimmy Carter. Oh, Jimmy Carter did a voiceover, that's right. Praising Joe Biden. I hope President Carter is doing okay. He wasn't on video in this promo here. I hope he's doing okay. Again, showing Joe and his long history in politics, being a positive in these promotional videos. Next up is Bill Clinton, talking from Chappaqua, New York. Honestly, Bill, a couple things here that I noticed. By the way, the people from the Hill that I watched, they hated Bill Clinton's speech here. They thought it sucked. Bill comes off to me, honestly, as a pretty smart guy still, and it shows just how smart he is in the show, or at least he comes off that way here. I think Bill, he used to be a hero of mine, but I'm hearing so many crappy things about him now that I'm kind of disappointed with him, I think. I don't really think a whole lot of him to begin with, but it's a bummer. I'm getting disappointed by him. I have to, hearing it with what I've heard about him. I think, I don't know. I just wish he was the person that I thought he was when I was a kid. I wish he'd be like that in real life, but he's not. That bums me out. Bums me out. Let's hear a couple things that Bill has to say.
Do his contract or hire someone else. If you want a president who defines the job as spending hours a day watching TV and zapping people on social media, he's your man. Denying, distracting, and demeaning works great if you're trying to entertain or inflame. But in a real crisis, it collapses like a house of cards. COVID just doesn't respond to any of that. To beat it, you've got to actually go to work and deal with the facts. Our party is united in offering you a very different choice. A go-to-work president. A down-to-earth, get-the-job-done guy. A man with a mission to take responsibility, not shift the blame. Concentrate, not distract. Unite, not divide.
Joe Biden has shifted the blame a lot during this election process. So let's not go there. But yeah, kind of what I expected to hear. I don't know, man. Bill Clinton is there. We know that. He's too big of a name to not remember. But I don't remember a lot of what he said, so therefore it wasn't that effective to me. I do remember him being smarter than I thought. And another detail, Bill Clinton is actually younger than Joe Biden. He's 4 years younger than Biden, which to me is kind of disturbing, considering that Clinton was president more than 20 years ago now. So, like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, I don't know. Let's get through here. Now back to that actress, Ellis, I'll say her name is. Back to, I believe, the governor of Wisconsin, endorsing Biden, basically. Democratic National Convention chairman. These are These are a couple of senators who endorsed Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. The first one, I don't remember his name, but he endorsed Joe. Or no, this guy endorsed Bernie, and the next senator or the next congressperson, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, endorsed Joe for 60 seconds. I want to hear what she has to say. This is only a 60-second speech, and I think what she says is kind of interesting because she's an interesting figure. So let's hear what she has to say. We'll have to hear the other guy first.
Senator Bernie Sanders.
Okay, he's done.
Good evening, bienvenidos, and thank you to everyone here today endeavoring towards a better, more just future for our country and our world. In fidelity and gratitude to a mass people's movement working to establish 21st century social, economic, and human rights, including guaranteed health care, higher education, living wages, and labor rights for all people in the United States. A movement striving to recognize and repair the wounds of racial injustice, colonization, misogyny, and homophobia, and to propose and build reimagined systems of immigration and foreign policy that turn away from the violence and xenophobia of our past. A movement that realizes the unsustainable brutality of an economy that rewards explosive inequalities of wealth for the few at the expense of long-term stability for the many, and who organized a historic grassroots campaign to reclaim our democracy. In a time when millions of people in the United States are looking for deep, systemic solutions to our crises of mass evictions, unemployment, and lack of health care, in el espíritu del pueblo and out of a love for all people, I hereby second the nomination of Senator Bernard Sanders of Vermont for President of the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. King and Representative Ocasio-Cortez.
So it was interesting to hear what she had to say. I thought that she had a good speech she had the best speech, maybe the best speech you could have when you're only given 60 seconds to talk. It's kind of crazy she's only given 60 seconds given how big of a figure she is in the Democratic Party. She's becoming a rising star. So with that being said, it was pretty unfortunate that she's only given that little time to speak. Let's get to another thing here. This was the video, the particular video I was talking about with Joe Biden and how he is able to talk to the every working person, the everyman, basically, the person you see at work. And Joe, unlike Obama and other elites, Joe is that person who can really do that. He seems to have that, according to the people in the Hill, and they at least claim that. As you know, as you notice, I'm listening to the Hill a lot with my stuff, and I think they're the best. They're the most credible that I've seen, maybe besides C-SPAN. And another one I'm looking at is this source called Axios. They seem to have good reporting there too, so I'm going to look more into them. None of these places are biased, unlike NBC News, ABC News, CBS News, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Unlike any of them, these guys aren't biased, and I like that. But let's listen to this woman who I guess does security in the elevator or something, or guides people to the elevator. So she's like a guide, I guess, in a building. It's her job to lead people. So it's an interesting job. So let's hear what she has to say. She had some good things to say about Joe and her interaction with Joe in the elevator, and how Joe legitimately seems to listen to what she has to say, unlike a lot of other politicians. So let's see here. This might take a sec. I'll just get into it. This guy from the DNC's talking, and then we'll get into her.
And seconding speeches for Vice President Biden. In a moment, we'll hear from Senator Chris Coons, who holds the Delaware Senate seat once held by the Vice President, and Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester, my colleague in the House. But first, we'll hear from Jacqueline Asbitt, a working American who met Joe Biden in a most unexpected place, the elevator where she worked.
I take powerful people up on my elevator all the time. When they get off, they go to their important meetings. Me, I just head back to the lobby. But in the short time I spent with Joe Biden, I could tell he really saw me, that he actually cared, that my life meant something to him. And I knew, even when he went into his important meeting, he'd take my story in there with him. That's because Joe Biden has room in his heart for more than just himself. We've been through a lot, and we have tough days ahead. But nominating someone like that to be in the White House is a good place to start. That's why I nominate my friend, Joe Biden, as the next president of the United States.
I'm Senator Chris Coons from Delaware.
No one cares, Chris. Those are powerful when people from, as I learned really from these national conventions, the people that are just everyday American people that work, normal American people, they have a lot more oomph in their speeches and effectiveness in their speeches than these politicians do, and because they live it, they live the American life. These politicians, they don't. They live in Washington in their rich houses and stuff. And they don't really seem to be connected to the American people like how the American people are connected to the American people. And that's what I'm learning when I'm reading from the Hill and these places and watching Joe Rogan. I'm learning pretty quickly that that it's like that, and I'm learning how important it is to not live in a bubble and to go out of your bubble and to live like to experience life and not. I'm learning about the destruction you can make for yourself, ironically, if you live in a bubble. Which is why I hate this pandemic. Everyone's living in a bubble. It's not good for anybody. But, I digress, I guess. But that's an effective speech, nonetheless. That's my point. And now we're on to Chris Coons, who endorsed Joe. And another woman, I believe, who endorsed Joe. I don't know who this is. Representative Lisa Blunt Rochester from Delaware, a Democrat from Delaware. So they endorsed Joe. And now we're going to all the states. that declared to endorse Joe. Every single one of them, I think, endorsed Joe, except for maybe one. Bernie, which is the other person they could endorse, he was in the Vermont. That's who did it. It was Vermont who endorsed for Bernie Sanders. That's right. Going through all these. Nice. Took up a lot of time. That's good. So they all endorsed for Joe Biden, DNC. Now they talk about health care and issues of health and how compassionate Joe is. So here, Joe is having another, after the promotional video for healthcare, Joe talks to four different people in regards to healthcare issues, and he kind of shows a human side with him. Going through it here. There's a funny line where Joe meets like a baby or something. He talks to the baby. It's funny. I gotta find it. Here we go. I think it might show.
This job is not about me. It's about you. It's about us.
How are you, you handsome boy?
He was born in 15.
How are you, you little boy? Even the kids like, what the handsome boy, what the I thought it was kind of funny. But I took it the wrong way, clearly. Let's see here. And okay, another "We the People" sign after the talk with the four different people on screen that Biden was talking to. We the people all deserve affordable, quality health care. I can agree there. You know, I listened to a thing from the Libertarian presidential candidate for this election. Her name is Dr. Jo Jorgensen. And she basically compared healthcare to like other types of businesses that aren't nearly as important, like auto and something else like retail. And it's like, well, different companies compare prices for competition. I don't see why we can't do that with healthcare. I don't know if I really agree with that. I think healthcare is a human need that we need to consider. So, yeah. Next up was a man with Alzheimer's who's kind of devolving with his body. Some kind of rare condition he has. And yeah, it was moving, you know. Sometimes it's the image of the person that is effective. And, that was effective for sure. You know, I gotta argue against, you know, people from the Hill with Crystal Ball and Sagar Enjeti from Rising. They said that they didn't have Americans talking about you know, just normal Americans talking about their issues in the DNC, when I'm clearly providing the case that that's not true. So it was kind of effective in some ways, but maybe it's the whole virtual thing with the DNC. Like maybe people don't seem as human as they do if you see them live, like in the RNC. So maybe that's the downfall with doing this safe way of doing the convention. Next up was a former Marine talking about how he can't get health care, which was also kind of effective when I watched it. Next up is John Kerry, which was odd. I think he talked about national security or something, but what I remember, this was pretty forgettable. You know, Kerry, what has Kerry done in politics? I don't even know. Like, in Boston, I don't know. Very ineffective. I think he talked about foreign policy. It's just weird. Okay. Yep. Joe Biden. this now he's getting into the foreign policy part of politics. And yeah, it was all right. It was amazing. This is the more forgettable part of the DNC, quite frankly. Next up is Colin Powell. The Hill, Crystal and Sarah, they talked. You know, they said that this was a weird choice to make for a former Secretary of State with the Bush administration, a Republican Party, for 4 years. That was a little interesting. So it is weird. It's weird that he's on there, of all people to be in the DNC. You don't have Tulsi Gabbard on there, but you have him on there. I just find that strange. Next up is Joe Biden, talking about his friendship with the late John McCain. He's a hero, who is definitely a hero in America, being a POW and all that, surviving, running Congress for a long time. Now we're getting to Joe Biden's wife and how they met each other after Joe's first wife passed. I didn't know that about Joe's having 2 kids of his past and his first wife passed tragically. I mean, Joe's been through a lot. You know, just like how Trump is being put through something right now with his own brother, but these 2 candidates have been through a lot. I mean, they're just like, they're normal people. They're normal people. So, it's pretty interesting to hear about that, and I need to hear about that. I need to know that these people are humans. So it's nice to hear, even though it's unfortunate that family members have passed on both sides. Now going through a YouTube ad. Damn, already an hour, 12 minutes in. I got 2 more videos to review. Let's see. Okay, still going. Yep, talking about family. How Joe Biden's wife fit in pretty well as the new mom for the family once the other mom died. Kids accepted her pretty well, apparently. The mom Joe Biden's wife seems like a great person, and she seems like a very good teacher. She's not a politician, obviously. She's a teacher, and she had a great speech talking in a school, as they're showing here. I don't remember what she said, but it still was a very good speech, very supportive speech for Joe. And you know, if Joe gets nominated, the one for sure positive thing about him being president is the first lady is going to be awesome. This woman came off as very likable to me. Very likable. You know, perfect person to have as first lady. I mean, Melania is great too, but Jill seems way more likable than Melania. Nothing against Melania, but she seems likable too, but just not as much as Joe Biden's wife. And she seems great. She seems like a great lady. After her speech, which was effective, it was in a school and just talking as a teacher and a politician, it was good. It was a very good speech. A very passion-filled speech. With kids and stuff, about kids. After that, Joe came in the camera display and he said this. This was bad. Oh boy. I'm trying to get through it.
And we need someone with strong shoulders. I know that if we entrust this nation to Joe, he will do for your family what he did for ours. Bring us together and make us whole. Carry us forward in our time of need. Keep the promise of America for all of us.
Hey everyone, I'm Joe Biden's husband. As you heard tonight, excuse me, you can see why she's the love of my life
I'm Joe Biden's husband. Oh man. Sean Hannity made fun of that on Twitter. It's like, oh shit. No, Joe. No. It's like, no. Alright, and that's pretty much day 2 of the convention. They had a performance by John Legend. Didn't listen to the rest of this. Anyway, let's go to day 3. Oh, day 3 was the night of Kamala Harris accepting her nomination as vice president. And I believe Obama talked this night too, if I remember right. Weird Obama didn't talk in night 4. Or no, maybe he did. I'll have to watch this. Yep. Let's see. Okay, back in day 3 here. This is the chairman of the DNC is on. Now we're talking to, I believe, the mayor of Milwaukee. I don't know, somebody from Milwaukee, which is where the DNC base is at this year. Like I said earlier, we the people. Okay, another We the People sign. We know this election is bigger than politics. Okay, they just did this. They repeated the same thing from night 2. Alright. Kamala Harris did a speech before her big speech at the end. She basically said, why do you think the Republicans are trying so many things to stop us or to halt the election? Because they're scared, is basically what she said. I'm scared of both of these presidential candidates, I gotta be honest with you. I don't like either one. I'm pretty scared of hearing what they have to say, and I think that I'm really looking at third-party candidates. I gotta be real with you. I'm looking at third-party candidates, and I think that people really should take a look at and investigate what Howie Hawkins from the Green Party and what Joe Jorgensen from the Libertarian Party, what do they have to say about their agendas and all that? Maybe we should take a look at them and vote for them if we don't like these two candidates. I mean, we should take a look at them, along with their vice presidents, who I don't know their names. Sorry about that. Kamala's still talking. I don't remember what she said. Okay, here comes Kerry Washington. I like Kerry Washington. I think she's a good actress for day 3. And, moving forward here. Okay, talking about gun violence. Looks like now showing the videos of tragedies and the reactions to them. We the people want a future free from gun violence. Okay, they're going through the agendas here. This whole election. Okay, number of Americans being filmed talking about gun violence. They even showed a kid basically who was shot in the head, I believe, from a shooting. Survived, but he wasn't the same ever again. He couldn't talk or anything. He's kind of, he's in a wheelchair now, and he needs help doing daily things. It's really effective. It's sad to watch, but it's effective towards the issue of gun violence. I wonder about gun violence myself. It's like, we see it like places like Australia, and they don't really seem to have much violence when they really took out all their guns. In America, though, it doesn't seem to be that simple. One, people don't want to get rid of their guns if they have guns, and two, guns are a lot more scrambled out in this country. This is a way bigger country, both in size and in population. So it's interesting. But I think we should at least consider raising the gun restriction levels, particularly in the looser states, as we saw in Wisconsin this week in Kenosha. I think it's time at least to consider that and take a look at it. So I'm going to move forward here. Joe's talking about something else. Talking about a promotional video. Okay, now they have the senator from Arizona who got shot in the face, I think, or in the head or something. Somebody attempted to kill her. But she was still, but she's still working. She's still in Congress. Oh, she's a former U.S. representative. Okay, Gabrielle Giffords. It's so sad that had to happen. You know, people are just crazy. Confronted by paralysis. Responded with grit and determination. All that. Doing a speech right here. It's pretty epic. I'm going to go forward here. If you don't mind. Let's see. Okay, Kerry Washington. This is they're doing a video of having a grandmother talk to Joe Biden. Again, showing just how Joe is able to talk with anybody he sees in a rally or something, because he's very good at talking to normal people, unlike a lot of other politicians. You know, looking back, they did a good job in showing that strength a lot, Joe. So that's a big deal. Okay, another We the People. Want a leader in the existential fight, thank fucking God, against climate change. Maybe besides nuclear war, the threat of nuclear war, the biggest issue in the world that we need to deal with. The United States really has not done a good job in dealing with it. I think Donald Trump really has been maybe the worst president of all time in terms of dealing with climate change. He has done an awful job dealing with it. For an inauguration day, he signed an executive order to approve the Keystone Pipeline. That's all you need to know about Donald Trump and how he feels about climate change. He's an asshole. In that regard, he's a giant asshole. Again, climate change. A lot of people talk. Governor of New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who was a woman that they were considering to be vice president at a time, was in the running with Kamala. Climate change is such a big deal, though. I don't remember what she said, so I'm not going to go through it here. Wasn't effective, clearly. Okay, now he's talking about space. Apparently, I don't know. Global climate change still. People want to deal with climate change. Like, I really don't get politicians and kind of their lack, seemingly, to deal with climate change. That's another reason why I wanted Bernie Sanders to do well, because he was talking a lot of good stuff about climate change and how he wanted to change it. He seemed like it was a very top priority for him. But it doesn't seem like that for Biden, even though I trust him way more than I do against Trump. Trump brags about not dealing with climate change. You know, he's an asshole. But Biden, you know, he deals with it. He seems to deal with it a lot more than Trump does, at least. But you know, that's not saying much. Showing Americans trying to tackle climate change. Okay, on the solar. Okay, now talking to different people who want to want to challenge climate change or want to fix the issue. Regular Americans. Now they're showing Billie Eilish in a musical performance. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Good time waster. Thank you, Billie. Okay, next up, Kerry Washington talking. Is this about Kamala? I think it may be. Talking about immigration, I feel like. Yep. The issue of immigration. This was pretty tense to hear, pretty awkward to hear, and this was also effective to me. Talking to normal Americans and how they're affected with Trump's immigration practices as president. That was another big one. People that came from Mexico talking about this, how the DREAM Act was effective. You know, I don't know much about the DREAM Act. It's another thing I gotta look into. Big time. Big time. I need to look into that. Okay. Continuing talking about immigration. Immigration's a big issue that needs to be dealt with. I mean, it really should not be super hard to get into this country. I think the bureaucratic system, something's messed up there. Something is very delayed, and I don't see why it's so delayed. Like, we need to look more into that and see if it's necessary for people to be delayed for so long to become an American citizen. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't seem to make sense to me. Like, maybe the process needs to be quicker, and there would be less problems, because it can be. You know, in terms of security, how long does it take for people to do a screen check? I really don't know. I want to investigate that a little more. Okay, another musical performance. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, getting into women's suffrage now. You know, the Hill, they were complaining a lot about this day, a lot, and how the Democratic National Convention didn't pay attention to the issues going on in America right now. You know, like the pandemic. They need to hammer that home, the pandemic and the economic recession due to the pandemic, and how people need to deal with that more. People are hungry. They need to eat. They don't have jobs. The race and the social unrest that's going on and all that stuff. Kind of crazy. A big highlight video for the progress that women have made in Congress, which is great. But still, it's like they're not paying attention to the big issues that are happening now. That they came off as tone deaf. It can very well come off as tone deaf to a lot of people for not mentioning it. And after the women's promo, which is, you know, I'm not trying to downplay it, it's important, but they go to Hillary Clinton, who had another interesting speech. She also came off as kind of pretty smart. Not as, you know, just about as smart as Bill. I mean, both the Clintons are very smart. I will give them that. They always have appeared smart to me, so. And hard people to deal with in Washington. Like, if you're in a race with them, you'll probably lose. The Hill didn't like Hillary Clinton's speech. I didn't see anything wrong with it. Like, I don't care. I don't really listen to Hillary anymore. She's definitely corrupt. Yeah, I don't want to deal with her. The whole thing I'm learning about with when she called Tulsi Gabbard a Russian bot or a Russian spy without any evidence in the media, without presenting any evidence apparently, it's just insane. Like she apparently did that. And Tulsi Gabbard, you know, who's a veteran. He's a 2-year, 2-tour veteran in the Army, I believe. You call her a Russian spy? It's just insulting, without any evidence. So Gabbard did the right thing and she sued her for $50 million, like a defamation lawsuit, because that Russian spy thing, it went through the media rounds for a couple days there. And, yeah. I'm glad she called it, as Crystal Ball from the Hill said, credit to her, I'm glad that Tulsi did it, because you can't just go around and accuse people of something that's you don't back up with evidence. I mean, that's just insane. You can't do that. I don't care who you are. It's just not right, and it can't be tolerated. So, I don't know what I think of Hillary. Hillary doesn't seem good for Washington. I'll just say that. As for her speech, it was all right. It was kind of effective, but not really, because Hillary's name is just not good to me anymore. It's kind of like Bill's. Both their names are like, I don't know about you. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go to forward here. Kerry Washington brings us to Nancy Pelosi. Another woman who probably should get out of Washington because she left. She was the main person amongst Congress who left people high and dry during this second coronavirus deal negotiation, along with the Trump administration, equally so at the time. But the Trump administration had just made up for their mistake a little bit this week by offering those eviction moratoriums until the beginning of next year. So we're good. But the Democrats haven't done jack. Nancy Pelosi's leading the charge. It's just insulting that Nancy, that has a highlight video of herself in this convention that's not about her. After leading the charge of not passing that deal and having Congress go to recess after that. It was just, man, she has failed hard this year, and I think she should be let go along with Chuck Schumer, Mark Meadows, and Steve Mnuchin. I think they should all be let go for failing that hard a month ago with the coronavirus. I thought that was infuriating to hear about. So many people just didn't. So many people were left hungry and with eviction warnings and stuff, and they just don't care. They don't care over in Washington. Nancy Pelosi is in the lead to not care. Get out of my face, man. I don't like that. So that's all I gotta say. Nancy should be primaried out of office, along with Chuck Schumer. And Mitch McConnell while we're at it too. He's done a lot of stuff which I don't like. So, but it's not about that. It's not about that package coronavirus deal, because he didn't have much say in it. And McConnell at least insisted on staying another week to try to get negotiations going between the Democratic Party of Congress and between the Trump administration, which those two were disagreeing about how much they were going to pay to us Americans in unemployment. The Democrats wanted to pay, I believe, $2 trillion, actually, and the Republicans wanted to pay $1 trillion. So, whatever. Nancy Pelosi doesn't deserve a highlight reel, especially after that with this convention. And she doesn't deserve a speech either, quite frankly. I really don't like her. I don't like her. She's on my crap list right now. So I didn't really hear what she said. I kind of blacked out in my head with what she said. I didn't pay attention. Let's go to Kerry Washington again. So we went to women again, in terms of domestic violence now, and how important that is. I'm glad they covered it. Again, though, Americans don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about solutions with the pandemic and how, they want to hear about economic recession. What are they going to do about that? They didn't really address that here. Not on this night, at least. That needs to be hammered home. Now they're talking about Joe Biden's career and what he did with violence against women in the 1990s. Not in the 2020s. Not now. What has he done now and not 30 years ago? But this was a big deal, and it gives Joe a human side towards the women vote. So maybe that was their idea. There you go. Okay, after that, Kerry Washington came back. I don't know who he's talking about now. Okay, now they're talking about the economy. We've lost a lot of small businesses. Okay, they're talking about that stuff. That's pretty good. At least they're talking to Americans. Here's the funny part. They have Mayor Garcetti from Los Angeles talking to a small-time business owner, even though he's insisted for small businesses to be closed. That must have been awkward. He talked to a small business owner for the convention. I thought that was weird. Garcetti seems almost overprotective in Los Angeles. I don't know about you guys, but he sounded pretty interesting to me. Next up, they went to Elizabeth Warren, who talked about endorsing Joe Biden. Warren was for Medicare for All. I don't know if Joe Biden supported that. But Warren endorsed him nevertheless here. You know, Warren, she was talking a lot about herself, according to the people at the Hill in this speech. And they called her narcissistic, or at least Crystal Ball did. She called her narcissistic in her speech. And, you know, I can see that. From what I remember in this speech, I remember that. Something about there was a block that said BLM for Black Lives Matter in this playroom that she talked at. So it was, yeah, it was interesting. Interesting speech from Warren. No real effect on me either, just like a lot of other people. Okay, Kerry Washington. Back to her. And now they're getting to the relationship of Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Obama's about to speak here. He gave him the medal, some kind of medal for the average civilians. Obama did, Joe. That was pretty cool. Joe seems very surprised by it. This was when Obama was president. Getting to Obama. Obama, where did he speak? I'm trying to figure that out here. Let me get to this. Because he might have violated the Hatch Act too, along with all the Republicans in the RNC. Let's see here. Get right to him.
Good evening, everybody. As you've seen by now, this isn't a normal convention. It's not a normal time. So tonight I want to talk as plainly as I can about the stakes in this election. Because what we do these next 76 days will echo to generations to come. I'm in Philadelphia, where our Constitution was drafted and signed. It wasn't a perfect document. It allowed for the inhumanity of slavery. And
Obama doesn't say where he spoke. I think if I dig in a little more into it, I can find out, but I'm not going to. he could have violated the Hatch Act. I'm not sure because where he's speaking really looks like some kind of government museum or something, government-owned museum, which could be a violation of the Hatch Act. So I'm not sure. Not sure. So I'm not going to accuse him or anything. But Obama, I remember the speech. It was a long speech. He talked for quite a while. But I remember it being a very effective speech with in terms, well, not with me endorsing Joe Biden, but like just in believing how good, just remembering how good of a speaker this guy is. Barack Obama, holy shit. What a good speaker. He is probably going to be the best speaker, political speaker by far that I've ever seen in my lifetime. I'm willing to believe that. I think he's just so good at what he does, which is talk and just conjure just project his thoughts in a very educated, articulate manner, and it's very, very impressive to hear him speak. It's like art. It's just inspiring. It's something to remember when he talks. He's a talented, once in a lifetime kind of talker and politician, and yeah. For that, I don't know how good he is in terms of policy. I didn't really investigate him. I didn't care about politics back then during the Obama administration, but in terms of him being a speaker, a theatrical speaker, no one's going to touch him ever in my lifetime. It's not even close. And I remember this speech where he criticized Trump quite a bit, and he said, "We need Joe Biden more than ever." Did he convince me to vote for Joe? No. But I was very interested in him. I was very interested in what he had to say because he articulated it so well and so beautifully that it was impressive. I do kind of miss Barack. I mean, he seems like an awesome, awesome dude to hang out with, and I miss him in that regard as a president for sure. I'm definitely not going to miss Trump for that. Nope.
On Kamala?
Okay, going back to Kerry Washington here.
And keep them together by reducing.
So I think we're getting to Kamala here. DNC approves for Kamala. Now Kamala's family is talking about her now. How great she is. And showing the highlights of Kamala. Kamala's about to speak for day 3. You know, and it's a big deal to have her speak like this. You know, it is. And they're showing Kamala as a humanistic person. I don't know what to think about her, honestly. She has a very interesting track record. Yeah. I've heard some interesting things about her. One of the things I heard about her was her blocking of evidence that would let people go free for crimes they possibly didn't commit in California as the California Attorney General, imprisoning parents for truancy but not going after antitrust people who violated antitrust laws and corporations. She didn't go much after corporations. She kind of let them develop without much enforcement as the Attorney General, and they liked her for it. And they seemed to be donors for her as well down the road, particularly Steve Mnuchin for not attacking him for a fraud accusation with his company, potential fraud accusation. But then Steve Mnuchin donated to her later on, and you know, she coddles the powerful, but she pushes down the the people who the poor community who for truancy and for weed violations, and I don't know what to think of her. She definitely seems to coddle the rich, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And Tulsi Gabbard called her out on it in the elections, and she definitely seemed very surprised by that and bothered. And I think that's why we didn't see Tulsi in this convention, because of that kind of stuff. And that's really unfortunate that the Democrats have to be that way, or at least the neoliberalism part of the Democratic Party. So, yeah. In this speech, Kamala really didn't talk much about policy or any of that stuff. She talked a lot about George Floyd and the pandemic and important stuff, but a lot of the speech was about her and her family and stuff, and herself. And but Americans really don't. The Crystal Ball and Sagar, they complained a lot about that, about how they don't really, how she seemed narcissistic in her speech almost, kind of like Elizabeth Warren. When Americans are hungry, they're dealing with the pandemic, it's not a good time to have these speeches right now. So in the speech, the scary part though is that this woman could become the next president of the United States if something, God forbid, happens to Joe Biden, if he becomes president. It's very real. And I don't like her position on things, with positioning the rich and backing up against Medicare for all, and her donors didn't like that. I mean, having Joe Biden get $300 million for this campaign because of Kamala's connections, I think that's what got her to be vice president more than anything. I think it's that kind of stuff. I don't know. I can't prove that, but I bet that's it. Well, I guess I can prove that just by looking at the campaign financial numbers that they got from Kamala. So, yeah. It's interesting. I think it's purely because of that, because what Joe Biden's getting in terms of campaign money, it's easily the most we've ever seen ever in any campaign. And, I don't know what to think of him. I don't like that. I don't like how money is so influential in these elections. I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I really do. In fairness, though, Joe Biden seemed to get a good amount of money from grassroots donors, from just regular donors who wanted to donate. So that's interesting as well. And Kamala's still talking. Now we're getting, okay, she's done with her speech, so there's a big applause with the number of people on screen. No people clapping. She's smiling at him, but it's really, comes off as pretty disingenuous, quite frankly. She does this throughout the rest of the video here. And a musical performance by Jennifer Hudson. Joe Biden and his wife came out, and Kamala's husband came out, and they waved to the audience on screen who clapped for her at the end of her speech. That was the end of day 3 of the convention. Finally, let's go to day 4 of the DNC. This is the longest, 2 hours and 51 minutes. God help me. I'm already almost 2 hours in. Come on. Back to that Kamala speech from day 3, the first speech he did. Going through it here. Okay, then the introduction to day 4. It started now. 9 minutes in. Okay, highlights of the convention so far. I think the mayor's from Milwaukee is talking again. Another highlight video for Joe. And now they're talking about Beau Biden, who was Joe's son, who died of brain cancer. Military veteran as well. You know, Joe seemed, I can believe the idea that Joe Biden, because of what happened to his son, cancer research is going to be a very top priority for his organization. And I can be a fan of that. Can be a big fan of that. So that's pretty cool. And another video of Joe talking to a grandma. I believe about the grandma was sad about cancer death and told Joe over the phone, and Joe sympathized with her and talked with her for a long time. And I believe he went in contact with the Grammy after that later on down the road. So again, Joe is one with the people. So that's a big deal. Next up, we got Governor Newsom. Governor Gavin Newsom of California, my governor. We had big wildfires a couple weeks ago. We still do, but not as bad as 2 weeks ago. And the governor is in the forest talking about the issues of wildfires and criticizing what Trump said because he's an idiot. Trump said something about we got fires because Californians don't rake leaves. What an idiot. What an unsympathetic douche to say something like that during fires. You know, people lose their homes. Like, you do realize you're the president, right? Like, you know, you don't get to joke like that anymore. You're the president. And I love jokers, but it's just not when you're the president, not when people are trying to look up to a leader, and you're in the ultimate leader position. Newsom talks about how there's 90 lawsuits between California and the Trump administration. It's pretty crazy. Trump is connected well with Devin Nunes, who's my representative, I believe, in the Senate, or Senate or Congress, one of the two. Senate or House, one of the two. So, there you go. Already 20-something minutes in. I don't know who these people are. Okay, these are politicians rooting for Joe to win. Okay, and here's Andrew Yang. I want to hear what Andrew Yang has to say. I like him. So I want to hear what he has to say.
Hello, America. I'm Andrew Yang. You might know me as a guy who ran for president talking about math and the future. Unfortunately for all of us, that future is now. The pandemic has accelerated everything. If you're like me and my wife, Evelyn, you don't know if your child's school is going to reopen this fall. 72% of Americans believe that this is the worst time we have ever experienced. And 42% of the jobs that have been lost, millions of jobs, will never return. We are in a deep, dark hole, and we need leaders who will help us dig out. I know many politicians promise and then fail to deliver. If you voted for Trump or didn't vote at all back in 2016, I get it. Many of us have gotten tired of our leaders seeming far removed from our everyday lives, and we despair that our government will ever rise to the challenges of our time. But we must give this country, our country, a chance to recover. And recovery is only possible with a change of leadership and new ideas. Bold and innovative policies that will get help into your hands in the midst of this crisis are now possible. But we need your help to turn the page for our country in 75 days. We are here tonight to celebrate Joe Biden's nomination as a Democratic candidate for president. I have gotten to know both Joe and Kamala on the trail over the past year. The way you really get to know a person when the cameras are off, the crowds are gone, it's just you and them. They're real people. They understand the problems we face. They are parents and patriots who want the best for us and our country. And if we give them the chance, they will fight for us and our families every single day. Our future is now, and it is daunting. But I ask you tonight to join me to help Joe and Kamala fight for the promise of America, turn the page for our country, and lead us forward to a future we'll actually be proud to leave to our children. And now I'd like to turn it over to a great Democrat who will be with us throughout the evening.
This was bad.
Between the two of us, we have 11 Emmys. How's that for math? One of my favorite actresses, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Hey, Julia.
Hi, Andrew. I'm so glad to see you. So what did you think about Kamala Harris's speech last night?
It was tremendous. I was so happy for her.
I know, me too. She's fabulous. I cannot wait to see her debate our current Vice President, Mika Pine. Or, is it Payne?
It's pronounced Ponce, I believe.
Oh, some kind of weird foreign name?
Yeah, not very American sounding.
Yeah, that's what people are saying. Strongly. Well, thank you, Andrew. And please give my regards to the gang.
I will. They're right in the next room. Have a great night, Julia.
Thank you so much. Good evening, America, and welcome to the fourth night of the 2000.
Well, that was bad. Okay. I thought Andrew Yang was actually better than Julia. That was a rare misfire by Julia there. There you go. Damn it. Julia's a legend. I don't care what anybody says. She's still beautiful too. So, there you go. Now there's a song. There's a couple singers here. Okay, never mind. No. Okay. Now we're talking about something else. A woman. I don't remember who this woman is who's speaking. Okay, Chris Coons is back. U.S. Senator from Delaware. I honestly don't remember what he said at all, so I'm going to skip him. F you, Chris. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure Chris is a great guy. Okay, they're talking about religion and religious freedom. Again, I know that this is also important, but what about the pandemic and economic downturn? At least half of this convention should have talked about that a little bit. I mean, we all know the other stuff's important, but what about the damn pandemic and economic downturn? I mean, come on. Or at least racial unrest. That's another issue that's big in this country right now. They need to talk about one of those three. You know, religious practices. I mean, everyone knows that that's important. Okay, next up is the mayor from Atlanta, talking Julia Louis-Dreyfus, endorsing Joe Biden. I don't remember what she said, so I'm going to go forward. Okay, yep, racial unrest again. They might talk about John Lewis, if I remember correctly, in this night of the convention. And yeah, they're already talking about him right now. Hey, that's an unfortunate loss, but also needs to be talked about. So I'm glad they're talking about it, because he really is an American hero during the Civil Rights Movement. Yep, John Lewis talking. They're showing him in Congress now. You know, it's a big deal. It's a big deal that we lost him. So, yeah. Okay, John Legend singing Glory again. Okay, back to Julia Louis-Dreyfus. I don't know who this guy is who's talking now. Talking about American history. Okay. I don't know who this. Now talking to Deb Haaland. Deb Haaland, U.S. Representative from New Mexico. Okay. Okay. Speaking for Native Americans. all minorities get represented here, which is great. Okay, now it's a number of Republican normal people who were claimed themselves to be Republicans are now switching to Democrats. Same thing we saw in the RNC a lot of. Oh man. Okay, we're getting into the election process, again, the voting system. Now, 2 speakers, one from California, another from Michigan. Vote by mail. People talking about how important it is. Now we've gotten the Cory Booker's endorsement for Joe Biden. I don't remember this either. I just remember that Cory Booker looks a lot bigger than I thought by the waist. So that's all honestly what I remember. He looks bigger than I thought. Honestly. I bet he's a nice guy. I bet I'm being a jerk. I'm sorry, Cory. I just think I didn't listen to what he had to say really. Look, it's day 4. I mean, it's long. It's a long convention. Both conventions are way too long. Like I said earlier, it's just way too long. Okay, now I believe we're getting into law enforcement, or no, we're not. We're talking about different companies now that are in trouble due to the recession, I believe. Yep, different companies, people that are having issues losing their job and stuff. Okay, now the Attorney General, the Surgeon General, talking about coronavirus. It's weird he got involved in this political stuff. I figured that position's more neutral. And he came from Florida, which is even more interesting, since that's more of a Republican state. Almost done, Ben. Almost done. Tammy Baldwin, U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, was after that. Don't remember her speech really at all, so I'll kind of get past her. Now we're talking about the military. Get all that stuff now. How great the military is, and they are great. Are we getting to Beau Biden? No, we didn't get into her. Next up, I don't remember who this is. This is Tammy Duckworth, who's I believe is an amputee. She's from U.S. Senator from Illinois. She has 2 mechanical legs that she works that help her. She was effective in this speech. I'll give her that. I remember her. She was very effective. I forgot what she said, but she came off as very effective to me. Whole delivery and everything. Yeah, everything. So there you go. Next up, they're doing a tribute to Beau. I understand that. Beau seemed like a great guy. Really sad what happened there. Here's a convention speech quote Beau Biden did in 2008, I guess for Obama. It won't be possible for me to be here this fall, so I have something to ask of you. Be there for my dad like he was for me. Yeah. Joe really seemed close with his family from these videos. So, yeah. Next up was a Pete Buttigieg endorsement. I don't give a shit. Next person. I think this is now where the presidential candidates, the top ones, were talking to each other about how they endorsed, how they supported Joe. It's interesting, they had 7 slots in there. They could have evened it out with an 8th with Tulsi Gabbard, who wasn't in there. So there you go again. But these are all the Democratic presidential candidates who dropped out, and they're befriending each other, and they're talking positively about Joe. So that's pretty cool. Next up is Mike Bloomberg, who had his own speech. He had his own slot of his own individual speech. A very attacking kind of speech towards Trump, from what I remember from the speech, but I don't honestly remember what he said at all. I think that's what I hear about Mike Bloomberg. He's kind of like Trump, where he's from the outside, but he's not nearly as effective as Trump is with his arguments. So, never was, from what I hear. So, not much to say about Mike Bloomberg, because honestly, I didn't pay much attention. So, there you go. This was an effective one. A boy from New Hampshire named Braden, who has a speech impediment, was doing a speech about Joe Biden. Now he's speaking about him positively. Joe also had a speech impediment, so he could relate to him, and there seemed to be a great relationship. So that's pretty important. It was a very good speech. You really should go out and listen to it. Next up was, I don't know who this guy is, so I'll skip him. We the People. Okay, these are Joe's grandkids now talking. The granddaughters, yep. All talking about Joe. Here we go, speaking positively. This was a weird one. Weird placing for so late in the convention. Steph Curry, the NBA player, and his wife talking to his kids. And how great Joe is. I thought that was really weird. That's really weird. Why do they have this guy in the convention and not Tulsi Gabbard again? Fucking Steph Curry. I don't even like Steph. I used to like the Warriors until Steph Curry was in the Warriors. Then I was like, no, fuck the Warriors. Go LeBron, especially when he ruined LeBron's dynasty of being a champion. Him and all his other 12 All-Star players that he had on his team. Fuck the Warriors. But I like the Warriors. Here you go. Okay, now we're in the hour 2 of day 4, so we're getting deep into it now. They're now showing Joe's son and daughter. I believe it's Hunter Biden, and I don't remember the daughter's name. Both are makeup up, though, that's for sure, in both their videos. Okay, Ashley Biden is the daughter of Joe. Okay. So they speak very positively of Joe and talking about Bo as well. And yeah. So now they're talking about Joe's life growing up. Joe really seemed to be an interesting guy growing up, for sure. Very likable guy. I will say that. So yeah, it's pretty dope. Getting into it now. Okay, now we're into Joe's speech. Honestly, I don't remember much about Joe's speech. It was a pretty good speech. But wasn't too effective for me. I'll try to do a little snippet here.
Nearly a century ago, Franklin Roosevelt pledged the New Deal in a time of massive unemployment, uncertainty, and fear. Stricken by a disease, stricken by a virus, FDR insisted that he would recover and prevail, and he believed America could as well. And he did, and we can as well. This campaign isn't just about winning votes. It's about winning the heart and, yes, the soul of America. winning it for the generous among us, not the selfish. Winning it for workers who keep this country going, not just the privileged few at the top.
Effective from what I hear there. And that, to my understanding, is a lot of that speech. What was in a lot of this speech here. Joe did a good job. He seemed to really rehearse well for the speech, and he seemed to do a really good job. I'm just an average guy. I'm not even an expert, but that's my guess of what happened here. This was clearly a very important speech to do, so he better have prepared. And he did. Seems like he did. And he didn't do enough to do as good as Trump. Did he do better than Trump's speech at the Republican National Convention? I would give Trump the layup buzzer beater for 2 points. Just barely. Trump is better, but it doesn't. Both didn't influence me very well. Let's be clear. But Joe Biden did have a strong speech. I will say that. Talking more. Joe Biden's speech was also pretty long, about 25 minutes or so. Getting into it here. Okay, speech over finally, and the wife of Joe Biden, along with Kamala Harris and her husband, came out again, did the same waving thing to the crowd. Those two, Biden and Jill, they came off as genuine, but Kamala definitely not. And the husband looks like he doesn't want to be there. Oh, Jesus. And they're awkwardly walking up to each other. It's weird. You want to hug each other. Everybody's clapping. Okay. And weird scene. To follow the lines of social distancing, people weren't wearing masks. But people were in their cars and they were waving flags and stuff. A lot of people did have masks on, so there's different places where there were like drive-ins, listening to the speeches, and people in their cars. And the vice president and the president, they go up to a podium and wave at one of those crowds. And boom, firework presentation, them watching it, and that is pretty much the show. Very odd show going into it. And yeah, that's the Democratic National Convention in a nutshell. That's the entire thing. Overall, I thought it was ineffective. In a relatively ineffective campaign. Didn't nudge me to favor Biden or Kamala very much at all, really. And that's really all I gotta say, man. It really wasn't that much. It felt like it was long. I will say that it was long, but it was something to remember. It was a new experience of listening to a convention, and I thought that was interesting. So there you go. Post your comments down below, guys. What did you think about this review? Did you guys watch the convention? Do you guys not want to watch the convention now? Which I understand. Yeah, feel free to comment whatever you like. All right, guys, I will come back with the RNC review very shortly. And until then, though, I will catch you on the burn side. See you later, guys. Have a great night.